So this is Charlie, and she studied at Hereford. And Charlie, tell us a little bit about yourself. What did you do at Hereford? What are you up to now?
So at Hereford, I did English Lit, History, Psychology, Maths for Life, and then I also did an EPQ. And then I'm now at Exeter Uni studying history.
Fantastic. So that's kept you busy. So you did certificate of maths and then you did an EPQ. What was your EPQ in?
My EPQ was on the Special Operations Executive in World War II, particularly focused on the roles of women.
That is very cool. Was that something you just hadn't managed to cover in your history A level?
Pretty much. It's something that I've had quite a strong interest in since I was very, very little. And it was just one little outlet that I could study it in. And it's something that is a possible dissertation topic for me now as well.
Oh, that is cool. And tell us about your subjects at A level. How did you find them all? Any particular high points, low points? Tell us about your experience of A levels.
I really enjoyed A levels. Second year was just the up and up. I really loved all my subjects. English Lit was probably one of my favorites. I also loved history as well. I just quite enjoyed studying.
That's very cool. And so tell us about what's Exeter like? How's it going so far?
I love my course. There's a lot of stuff that you have to study, and there's a lot of quite compulsory things, but within those compulsory topics, you can go off and do what you want. So I've looked at Jacobite rebellions and I've looked at 19th century science. So you can do a lot within the remit of a compulsory topic. And then within that, there's a lot of modules you can choose, and there's variation from crusades all the way up to 20th century feminist movements. So there's shed loads of variation in what you can actually study. And it's really interesting because the history department at Exeter has decided that they don't do exams anymore. So instead we do week-long assessments. So we get an essay question on a Monday morning and then it's due on a Friday afternoon. But it's really, I think it's a lot more productive to actually what they're trying to teach us as history students.
Yeah.
So it works really well.
Also, that's also quite useful preparation for the workplace environment, because that's a lot like, for example, if your boss was to set you a project or a task, you'll have a set time to do it and then you'll have to finish it. So actually that's quite helpful. And then tell us about Exeter. What's that like?
I love it. It's quite a contained city, but it's really busy student life. You've got a lot going on, a lot of opportunities as a student in terms of sport at any level, from performance, national levels, all the way down to I just want to try it out on a Sunday. Excellent facilities, gorgeous library, really lovely campus. It's just been the perfect place for me.
And tell us, so what kind of things have you been involved in while you've been there?
So I'm massively into my hockey. I played at Hereford, and then I've been playing for both years for Bucks teams whilst I'm at Exeter, which is really exciting. And then I've also been doing the officers training corps whilst I'm at uni as well, which takes up a lot of my time.
And so tell us, so the officer training corps is to do with the army, is that right? And that's known as the OTC. So tell us a little bit about that.
I had some family members in the army who, before I went to Exeter, said, Exeter has an OTC, have you thought about joining? And I went, what's an OTC? And I've subsequently found out that you're all students, so everyone there is students. Some want to join the army, some don't. Some want different experiences. You get to do all the army training, so you get hands-on with weapons, tactical ideas and everything. So you are very, very involved in army life. But then you also get the other sides of the army as well. So you get to go on sports trips and sports competitions. So I've played army, like units, reservist corps, as well as other OTCs quite regularly. And then also adventure training. So we've got climbing in Scotland, kayaking, climbing in Italy, a bit of skiing. And the nice little breezy bonus on top of that is a lot of what you do, you get paid for. So you are technically a serving reservist alongside your studies. So it fits in really nicely.
That sounds very cool. So that fits in with all your sporty stuff as well.
Yeah.
Oh, very cool. And then tell us about, you've been getting some work experience as well alongside your uni studies and the OTC. Tell us a little bit about that.
So I've been working in schools quite regularly in pastoral side, so working with kids alongside kind of summer schools and Easter schools when I'm not at university, in the boarding houses, staying overnight, doing dinner times, planning activities. And it's just a really fun way to kind of spend your summers while staying busy as well.
Fantastic. If you were in year 12, what are the things you wish you had known?
First thing, start writing your revision notes as you go along. I'd say that's one of the biggest things. I think that's a massive one for me. I think enjoying it is one of the main things. I think throwing yourself into it and genuinely enjoying it is the best way you're going to learn, and engaging with your like fellow students, with your teachers, because when you have those conversations with them, you can actually sit down with them and have further conversations, and you will learn so much from them. So don't be afraid. I think don't be afraid to ask for help, because as soon as I worked out that one, everything became a lot clearer. And also my final thing is probably don't worry. I think because you get to A levels and it is quite a big jump from GCSEs a lot of the time. And suddenly you're not getting the grades you're usually getting. You're slightly lower down from where you thought you would be at GCSEs. And it takes people different times, but eventually it will click. It might be in the April before you sit your exams, but it will click.
Yeah.
And that's when English clicked for me. It was in that April, and it was bashing out essays. And I realized, actually, I get this English thing now. So it's don't worry, keep going, it will click.
That is super useful, because I do think that is absolutely the case. I always say to my students, it really only comes together about Easter of year 2. Until that point, it's a kind of gradual slow. And then tell me about choosing a uni. So how would you say find the perfect uni for you? So what would your hints and tips be about choosing a uni?
So for me, when I applied, it was all online, and all my open day experiences were online. So I didn't really get a proper feel for the uni. I think a massive contributing factor of how you're going to enjoy your uni is the course. Is the course going to be the right course for you? Look at the way that they all say how they assess their course. Is the way they assess their course going to work for you? Is it really courseworky or really exams? Also, get a feel for the place. I think it's really important you go and visit where you're going to uni. I'm so lucky that I ended up at Exeter. It wasn't the original plan, but I ended up there, and it's been perfect for me. But getting to know the place well, I think, is really important, and make sure it feels like the right place for you. Because if you don't feel like this is where you should be, you probably shouldn't. Yeah. And then looking at what else is going on where you are. What sports have they got offering? Is that something that you want to do? I think is really important.
I think that's so true. And I do think that often it's quite important to kind of have a look at all of those choices that you're thinking about. Because, these are top universities, and students who are on Reach are considering those really competitive universities. Think about the whole experience. But I think the best thing is the course and the assessment. And actually, that's fascinating. I didn't know that about Exeter. So that's really interesting that they're going for that kind of almost like a project. And again, as I said, I think that's really useful, particularly to prepare students for the workplace. And then longer term, any ideas of what you might do after uni? So obviously you're only partway through and you're doing lots of different things. Any thoughts about post-uni?
So at the moment, I've got applications in to join the army as an officer and hopefully go to Sandhurst, looking at May 25. I think at the moment it's going to be a 5-year, 8-year thing. Definitely go in there, get my experiences, and then the long-term plan is coming out and getting my PGCE and going into teaching.
Oh, that is so exciting. This is so cool. It's the coolest job ever. Obviously, I think that. So what would you want to specialize in the army?
I'm working it out at the moment, but I'm thinking, looking at signals, maybe ETS, which is kind of the education core and service, so helps mandate all the training and stuff. So looking forward, that's probably a good place to go to, but or intelligence. So just something that's different, something I can get some really fun experience before getting a proper job, really.
I'm pretty sure that is a proper job. That really helpful. So we've learned about Exeter, so how the course is structured there. And we've also learned about all of the other stuff that goes on in Exeter and the kind of vibrant city life, not too big a city. You've given us your hints and tips for if you're in year 12. You've talked about your work experience and your thoughts about after uni. Fantastic. It's been so good to catch up with you. And I remember the email when you said to me earlier in the year, it must have been last year, when you emailed me and you're like, this is the uni I was destined to come to. I was like, this is awesome. So thank you so much for your time, Charlie. It's been lovely to chat.
Thank you.